we're in Chicago, which is like the middle of America. So most of these people had never seen a mussel before. And my friends and I were like, oh, finally some good seafood, right? So I still remember it because we're sitting at a table where all the huge football players sit, and then, which was right close to all the food. And then we just had literally a table mounded full of mussel, the ke, all the shells, because nobody was eating it, right? And like, you put 8 Asian girls together, they're gonna eat, right? So we're just like, and everybody walked by and be like, what is this? Like, they weren't judging, but they were just kind of like, what are you guys eating? We're like, if you don't wanna eat it, that's okay, we'll continue, right? So that was just something that stuck out to me, because maybe in the past I would be like, oh, they're all looking at us, you know, maybe we shouldn't eat it so much, right? So I think being at university, being away from home and being away from Asian culture actually helped me appreciate my Asian culture, or at least made me think that there was something to miss, right? That I wasn't as white as I thought. Eventually I did move back to Taiwan to work, and again, language was my biggest frustration. Because right now I work with my mom. We own a couple kindergartens and bushibans. And I have to help manage our staff. But our communication styles are very different, right? So for example, like when I'm speaking English and I want to ask you to do something nicely without asking you to do it, I can approach it in very many different ways, right? I can like, I don't know, I'd be like, oh, you know, it might be a good idea if we kind of do this or this, or, you know, you can kind of work around the topic. But in Chinese, I can just go from A to B, go do this. Which you can understand for somebody who's like, okay, that's not very nice, right? My mom and I were actually just talking about this 2 days ago, because one of our supervisors was talking to her and saying, you know, maybe you and Tiffany are too direct sometimes. You hurt their feelings. And we're like, okay, sorry, we'll work on it. Like, because that is just kind of the way we take a more Western approach to communicating, right? And also, I would say that we see it in workplace attitudes. The way we look at an idea is very different. Like, my mom also was a bit more Westernized. So we might come to, I don't know, it just takes that much more effort to try to explain to our staff why we want them to do something, and it might be different than what they're used to, right? So it just takes a lot more time to communicate. But because of those frustrations, I ended up going back to school in Taiwan, in Chinese. I went to Zhongtai to get my early childhood education degree, because I was thinking, if I have such a big disconnect with my teachers, there has to be a reason why. So I went to school, and then I was like, oh, yes, there is a huge reason why. For example, a lot of the way Taiwanese schooling is different than America, right? Internships that I have found in Taiwan are a lot shorter than they are in Australia or North America. Like in Australia, you know, to get through an early childhood degree, you have months of hands-on, in the classroom, in people's homes, interning. But in Taiwan, it's like, go in for 8 weeks and like, hi, I'm here, and then like mop the floor and wipe the table and like, okay, I'm done, bye, right? So what they learn is very, very different. And that kind of helped me understand why my teachers' knowledge and what they think about education is so different than mine. Okay, so that was also something cultural. But of course, I ran into a lot of issues because I couldn't read Chinese. So I ended up having to order American textbooks, and then I would read the textbooks in English, then I would read it in Chinese, and then try to connect the two, right? So it was just that much more work. But eventually, I do think it helped a lot, and it was worth it. But what I also found interesting was when I went to school, I was given the benefit of the doubt a lot. Because I spoke English, all the professors were like, oh, Tiffany's in our class, oh, you don't have to, you know, if you don't understand, you can come find me. Like, they were super, super accommodating. But it made me wonder, like, if I came in not from an English-speaking background, if I came in with an Indonesian background or with, you know, I don't know, from like Africa or something, would these professors be as accommodating to me, right? And I truly don't think so. Okay, so I think that that is something that Taiwan does still need to work on, that they are very open to whiteness, but not so much to other cultures. Okay, so again, has your impression changed? Okay, just from me standing in front of you, just saying hi, to knowing my life story, if I were to talk to you now, would you be more open to sharing with me and to speaking with me? While I